RS intervju.
Cenjeno poslušalstvo, pozdravljeni v današnjem RS intervjuju. Malo zamujamo, ampak z nami sta Frank, Rosaly in Ibelisse Guardia Ferragutti. Člana zasedbe Mestizx, ki zvečer bodo nastopili na Drugi godbi v klubu Gromka. Drugač živita zdaj v Amsterdamu, prihajata se pravi Ibelisse iz Bolivije in Brazilije, Frank pa iz Portorika, ampak potem je odraščal v Ameriki. Ker govorite angleško, bomo zdaj nadaljevali v tem jeziku, tako da hello, welcome to this interview. Thank you for making the time for it.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start. It's not, at least for Frank, I know it's not your first time at the radio. I saw the merch you were carrying. So greetings. I wanted to start in the beginning, to maybe ask, what is your first musical memory, and how did you kind of get into, what was the thing that drew you into music at like a very small age?
For me, I come from a very musical family in Bolivia and Brazil. My whole family makes music. My grandfather is a composer, my uncle is a Brazilian musician from Brazilian folk music, and in Bolivia as well. So from when I was really small, sometimes we didn't even talk, we were singing all the time and playing music. So my first memory is music. It's just making music. Also with my parents, we were singing all the time. So I grew up in music, with both families. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think my earliest memories are probably my mother and my father's record collection. They had a lot of classical music, particularly of this Spanish conductor named Pablo Casals, who migrated to Puerto Rico later in his life and became the conductor for the symphony in Puerto Rico and San Juan. And I remember listening to a lot of classical music interpreted by the Pablo Casals, and also a lot of salsa music and music from Brazil also. I guess those are my earliest memories, because my family didn't play a lot of music, but my sister and I used to play games together to make sound and enjoy sound without necessarily calling it music, Yeah.
Exploring. So that is where the mulky sound comes from.
Yeah, exactly. That's the origin of the name of a record label that I started, and it's now a community organization based in Amsterdam that Ibi is part of, and a few other friends, Johan Pantol and Rosa
Ronsdorf
and Nortje
van der Einde.
Yeah. So.
So from the early age on, you both had this. You were basically in music from the get-go. But was this, pursuing the life of a musician, it was kind of already a track on which you were back then, or was it kind of a fantasy as well? Or like, what I want to ask is, did you imagine going on tour and being all around the world, traveling with your music already, or hoping for that to happen?
For me, it's more difficult because I grew up in Bolivia, Brazil. I am a fan. It's not like there is a lot of opportunities coming from there. So it was more like I studied actually classical piano for 18 years first, and then I became a bass player in a lot of punk bands. And then I started doing dance, and then I started in theater, and my parents really helped me to keep on doing that. The thing was, I was like, but how? How are you going to do that? Impossible. So then I went to study in Amsterdam because I have a very sweet aunt that has means, and she paid for my studies basically in Amsterdam. And that's how I was able to study and then make connections in Amsterdam and starting doing the thing. But Yes, I mean, it was like I was thinking like I cannot do anything else in my life, but how am I gonna be able to pursue this thing? So with the help a lot of people and with the help of community that I was able to study there and also keep on doing, and then the things just kind of roll from there. But no, in the beginning it looks impossible. Yes.
I didn't really think about the practicalities of how difficult it might be to be a musician, but when I was 8 years old I saw a concert and it was like, that's what I'm gonna do. And I really made a choice at that point. And I didn't know exactly where it was going to lead me, but it was so clear for me from very early on, very early age. Yeah.
And all right, so you both, so you studied classical piano. You also did not conservatory or music school.
Yeah.
But then you kind of transcended these pedagogical practices and came into your own. Do you feel that the school informed, how you make music now in a lot of ways? From, I guess, the sheer technicality that you learn, or solfeggio, stuff like that.
Yeah, in my case, yes. Of course. I mean, 15 years of classical piano and everything that has to do with music was really informing. But I feel like one thing that informed me the most is the fact that I wanted to move away from it. That was really teaching for me. Like, how do I break these rules that classical music is the center point of everything? At least when I grew up, there was the main music, like the most important music hierarchical wise, and I wanted to break free from that. But then afterwards I realized, but it's very handy to have all these tools that I had to continue after to. You break it, but the tools also come with you. And that's very great. I'm very thankful for that, of course, yes.
Yeah, I had an experience after college which put really hard borders around like what jazz is, because that was my fascination and that's what I was studying. And then when I moved to Chicago, that's when I started to see that the borders that I had put around it were like so choking and really stopped progression in terms of like, well, actually thinking about the form as art, as an art form. And that question was put to myself over many questions that I was asking myself, and I realized that what was happening in Chicago was people that I was getting to play with also, but mostly just watching them. I realized, man, these guys are and these ladies, they're so busy with something singular, finding a singularity in themselves and then pursuing that. So that became my school. It was really so refreshing to understand that music was indeed an art form, because school really closed my mind. So Chicago was my second school where I learned about the art of making music and everything that surrounds the experience of making a concert or watching a concert even.
You were also organizing series of events, or you still do?
Yeah. Both of us are.
But also in Chicago, you were.
Also in Chicago, yeah. I had a series that I ran with a couple friends for 9 years, and that was also really great, just to create some sort of energy within the community that was also going against the energy that was going in the scene that I was in, that had this really clear path, and I created a little alternative space for other things that didn't necessarily get as much time on stage. It was really great to feel that. I felt it was important. Yeah. But in Amsterdam, it's something else, no? The smoke thing, even.
But we were doing, before Frankie came, we were already organizing a lot of, you could say, very parallel to what was happening in Chicago. We were organizing a lot of things that you could say it really embraces the margins of everything. the margins of the city, the margins of genres of music, the margins of a community that is not just going to exchange a musical experience because of a transaction. So things have to be very cheap and like very, so students can come, that everybody can come. So you create a really much more sustainable situation, even though in Amsterdam is very, very challenging because it's super gentrified at the moment. So all these things are getting even more away. So we're really fighting for having those places where true experimentation can have a place, without that is like about just a result or an output that has some kind of meaning. Even like you need to have space for performing without that you're, do you know what you're doing yet? So I think there we have a parallel world going on that we had in Amsterdam and in Chicago, with our community.
And then your two, creative powers converged at the Riley Walker concert.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was a beautiful meeting.
Yeah.
I don't know how, what else is there to say? Like, after the concert, a friend of ours introduced us, and I fell in love with her immediately. And it began this new journey that like shifted my entire life and everything that I thought was going to be. I was very, very loyal to Chicago and everything that I was a part of. And then this idea of spending my life with this magical person was just so disruptive. I was like, no! I've been working so hard, this is so nice, but this is much nicer. So eventually I had to be bold and move. I just had to get out of there. And it's the best decision I've ever made, I think, honestly. She's having such an incredible teacher.
Yeah, but then we were going back to Chicago also a lot, so it became actually not like or, it became and.
Yeah.
And Chicago and Amsterdam and Brazil and Bolivia and Puerto Rico, and everything became more together also. It's nice to unite these worlds and the friends also with each other, create a bigger community.
Yeah. But I think from here on we can, that sort of propelled, I guess, the Mestizx era, which is now still ongoing, but the album, the 4 years you invested, we can touch upon that because it's so packed with everything. It's like when I was researching, it's deep. It could be like a dissertation. It is a dissertation in sound.
I would say so. Yeah,
it is.
It really is.
Yeah.
My PhD, like in poetry, like poetically translated. In partnership with my best friend, and some shared experiences and some shared ideological dissonance that we're both trying to solve for ourselves, but also just finding a language together, just enjoying that process also,
and also while finding the language, not being able to find it as well, and being in that problem, in the trouble, like what does this sound like, and that you cannot solve it as well, because even though there is this PhD and this dissertation of an LP, of a record that is more than a record, there are things that we can even listen back and we're like, oh yeah, it could progress this, and like it's for me it's emotion. It's not like, even if it's printed, it's not a document that is just that. It's still moving to all directions. I love that. It's like moving, it's dancing. Yes,
it's living.
It's living. Alive. It's a living document. Yeah.
What Mestizx is now for me, the band or the idea, totally different than what is printed on that record. And like where I hear the music going with you and what we've been through in the last years, it's totally different. I'm really excited to sit down, dedicated, write more music and see what it comes.
Yeah.
Yes, me too.
I was waiting for a compliment.
Yeah. No, but okay. Can we talk a little bit about the process of research that you put into making this album? Everything from like returning to the roots, you know, discovering these identities within yourself. If you can expand a little bit on how it started and also, you know, where it's now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I mean, perhaps it's also the movement of the world, of course, but within ourselves, like, at least for me, it was, actually a very deeply decolonial kind of journey that I realized, okay, but what is my place in things and what can I fight for? What shall I be fighting for? Of course, it's always for liberation, but in my case, because I really love studying all kinds of philosophies and thinkers and activists. I'm really into that. And I realized I was like, all these people that I read are or American or European or from somewhere, African, but who are the South American thinkers? Where are we now? And it's very complicated, it's very complex. So for me, it was really going back like to the roots via these amazing thinkers like Silvia Rivera Cusicanqui, who is my teacher, amazing Bolivian sociologist and anarchist and thinker. So I went to study with her, but also I went to study. She was my teacher of the mind and the philosophy. But I also went to study with people that we know them as shamans, like curanderos, and they are more the people that connect you to the spiritual world, but also to the land, no? And to ritual. And then I went to other people that are more about craftsmanship and how your roots are embedded in your hands. So how people weave carpets that are actually musical scores, how people make pots of things that actually contain memory of the bones of your ancestors. So it's like, then it became so like beautiful and three-dimensional and fifth-dimensional that I realized like I belong somewhere, but maybe I cannot yet understand what that is. And the moment I dare to go deep and have the courage to sit with the trouble that my roots, my whole mixage of bloodhood and my blueprint is like all of us probably, it's a war blueprint. How do I deal with it? And these people helped me, but I also just kind of surrender. I was like, okay, I'm just this, and I'm gonna try to see how I can talk from that place. And I'm not gonna take sides. I'm just gonna see what my body tells me. And immediately that started translating in music. Almost like the music just kind of went like after that, after I found that key in my heart, I felt like the music almost started composing itself. Like I was just there available, like I'm available, just come. But first for me it was I had to untangle a lot of pain also and sadness, but also a lot of misunderstandings that I had also within myself on a political, social, ancestral, personal level and a lot of levels. So that was in my personal journey.
Yeah.
To make it very short.
Yeah, for me it started about 15, 17 years ago when my dad gave me a CD of Mon Rivera, this second wave of bomba and plena, sort of kind of in the same world as salsa, but it has its own thing, and it's very much Puerto Rican. And I had never heard this stuff before. Mon Rivera, I had heard bomba and plena before, but it ignited this interest in me to understand something that my parents didn't expose me to very much, because they both identify very much as like the Spaniard side of being Puerto Rican, and I always felt this draw and this connection to like the land and the sort of the mysteries that the island holds. So in the next 15, 17 years, I started buying books and just understanding anthropologically, sociologically, and in the context of colonization, what Puerto Rico and the people and the indigenous people and the African slaves and everybody who was oppressed went through, which was incredibly eye-opening, and it really forced me to look at myself as this product of war, of conflict, of unresolved things that I wanted to figure out how to resolve. So I just started to absorbing the music and finding it wherever I could, and then I started a band that played bomba and plena music with like 12 musicians, and that really ignited something that made me want to dig even deeper and deeper and deeper. So that process started, when I was still living in Chicago, and then it was kind of on ice for a few years. Then Evie and I really started talking about the process of decolonization and our experience as mestizos and mestizas. And at a certain point, I just made this choice about like not identifying as anything, but like just accepting that I am part of a diaspora, and I gave myself the permission to dream about it, to imagine music that is coming from me, that I never allowed myself to imagine before. And that just opened up a world that was so easy to dig into and mine for information, because I gave myself this permission to dream again and to imagine. It was a very liberating experience. And then workshopping the ideas and talking with Evie about it, it was effortless to get this material out, once I started allowing.
Mm. Yeah, it feels a very vulnerable record in that sense of like, of course, you have accomplished a lot in your artistic practices up until that point, but this is like a journey inwards that informs, in combination with that prior experience, something really big and deep.
Yeah. Painful also.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
And liberating, yeah, and revolutionary for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all this, also informed the sort of claves or rhythms you used on the record, the instruments. I was thinking, for the use of synthesizers, for instance, because it's like an instrument that's kind of so new that it does not have some ideological, it's not embedded in, maybe it's getting there, but it's not part of like a tradition per se. So yeah. Was that the reason that it's kind of an open canvas to?
Yeah, I brought the synthesizers, and I was already with another friend of mine kind of flirting with the idea of, because the synthesizer doesn't have this thing projected in it, and also at the same time I felt like, in my case, I don't feel comfortable to play the flutes from Bolivia. I don't feel comfortable to play the original instruments, because they need to exist in the context of the rituals in certain times in the cyclical calendar. They mean something. They are for harvesting or for the rain or for whatever. So I don't feel comfortable to do that. It's too kind of sacred almost. So but I do feel comfortable to speculate, to imagine those tunings from those flutes and those instruments, and detune or retune or speculate a tuning in the synthesizer, and then start speculating. And then, because in the synthesizer you can also kind of really shape a sound that is flute-ish, but not really, but is also kind of keyboardish with flute. So then you're kind of speculating a sound, and suddenly there is, for me, this thing that Frankie was saying about the dream. Then the dream world is also part of it, instead of that is exactly about grabbing those old instruments and playing. then you take a third option. It's like, but it's maybe a space, almost like a science fiction place that we are embodying by, and the synthesizer really helps with that.
Kind of like the concept of like maybe Latinx, like futurism, like imagining a different an alternative present or future based.
Totally.
Yeah, very much so.
Totally.
Yeah.
I really felt that a lot. Like we went to the past, no, for the harvesting the facts and the pain and the what happened, but also we harvested a lot of beauty. Like, wow, these people were also really impactful in how they thought about their environment and their communities. At least in the Andes, I felt that, and then we catapulted that to a future. Or a possible future, and that's why the synthesizer was that for me at least, really a bridge, like something to weave towards that future.
Yeah, enables to like instead of. Did you also build any instruments like specifically for?
No, not necessarily for this record.
No.
We both build instruments sometimes, but yeah, we weren't thinking in terms of that. Just didn't seem necessary.
Yeah.
But just building worlds that inhabit a little bit of this this Caribbean feeling. Like for me, using Aguiro, for me, yes, it was about the sound and the drive that this instrument has in some of our songs, but more so than that, it's a representation of indigenous qualities within myself, because that's an instrument that originated amongst the Taino people.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was simultaneously being invented in Africa and blah blah blah, but it's one of the few instruments that was truly native to Puerto Rico and the Taino people, and I wanted that to be represented in sound. So the fact that the guiro is there driving the music has a very deep layer to it, other than just the sound and its effect. It's really a representative, and I feel that way about in Barro. At the end of the song, there's panderetas from the plena music tradition, which is also that's an Afro-indigenous tradition. So it wasn't about like just tipping a hat to Puerto Rico. It was really about a representation of a lineage and an erasure of knowledge and wisdom that I wanted echoing in that music.
Yeah.
So the instruments that you hear are representatives for me.
It's like gathering a lot of spirits or a lot of voices, and not necessarily in the genre as we know it, like bomba, plena, cueca, pinquillo music, samba, chorinho, but we're actually gathering those sounds and kind of asking them permission. Can we also exist in this space that is a bit different than normally? It's not like a cumbia, or it's not. And can we sing together this and bring the spirits of these sounds with us and combine it with these other claves and other sounds that we kind of challenging a little bit, the claves and the original sounds, but also asking them to be with us, like this gathering of a lot of sounds, no? And it was fun. That was really fun to do. Sweet.
And did you get any so you weren't on tour in South America yet?
No.
In Brazil, we went once to Brazil together. Yeah.
There's some movement in that direction, hopefully.
We're gonna try to.
Because I was wondering, like, we were talking a little bit about it before, and also in your interview with Senne, you were talking about how, music, for instance, in that case, it was about jazz music in Chicago and how people in Europe perceive this, and I wanted to ask, like, if there's been feedback from, like, I guess diaspora or mainland that kind of connect to the or what the sort of, because for me as an outsider, it's not my culture, so I can only kind of go so deep in terms of understanding what it means. But I think people who live there, who have the same experience, can connect on a much deeper level, or their definition, their interpretation of, for instance, what it feels like to be mestizo or mestiza can be different. So I wanted to ask if there's been any like discourse around this since you put out the label, the album, pardon.
Yeah,
Like specifically in Bolivia or Brazil or in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it's more like that from the Latin diaspora.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know. I feel like a lot of Bolivian people like really don't connect with it, especially the music, the sound of it, and maybe they just are waiting to be convinced. Because the thing is, I come from this family in Bolivia I come from this like the Beatles of Bolivia. They're big folk music family. Very famous also. So it's like I am the black duck, like the one that comes like, what about this? It's like super different. But they do respect the search. They find it very touching. Because I'm not just doing the music, I'm also doing a lot of ceremonies and rituals and other things. So my family, at least, they do respect, they find it amazing, no? But I feel like we need to play live there. Because I feel like if we play live, I think they're gonna start going like, oh, this is what it's about. Because they're much more into this live thing, no? And in Brazil, we received a lot of messages that a lot of people really like it, but I think it's more the scene also from the more experimental music that understand already that sometimes it's nice to challenge some borders. So it's more this kind of people. But I think in terms of distribution, slowly it's arriving to more places, and there are very surprising answers. Like in Chicago, we went to a radio as well that is called Lumpen Radio, and that is run also by the Latin diaspora in Chicago, and that was awesome. That was really, really nice. Now they really connected a lot with the record, and they understand, but they also live in the United States, so I feel like they share maybe with us a bit deeper this like conflict of identity and non-identity, or right?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't gotten very much feedback from anyone that I know in Puerto Rico. I know that the label put energy into making sure that some radio stations in San Juan were aware of the record. But I'm a bit too disconnected from that culture since I've lived in the United States for so long to understand or hear from anyone that might have an opinion about it. My parents, congratulations, you're my favorite drummer. Of course they're going to be sweet about it. But I don't know how the record was received in Puerto Rico, if it was received at all. I mean, Ibi and I are very deep into experimentation in sound and performance. And part of this research that I told you about back in 2007, 2008, when I started like absorbing as much as I could about Puerto Rican culture and my feelings and my connection to it, I was also very busy Googling like experimental music Puerto Rico, noise band Puerto Rico, like, and it was like, Google search says no. And then 5 years later, Google search says no. And 5 years later, oh, there's this one person. And then I would go to their SoundCloud and it's gone. It's just like, no, there seems to be very little going on there in terms of like experimental music that I'm aware of. I'm sure it exists. And, maybe it's just a bit more insular. But it's difficult for me to figure out like where could we just go there, just play some punk space and like make zero money, but just like share our music and try to become part of a culture there and understand what is possible and where our music may resonate with some people. Been really difficult to find that world. So.
Yeah, it's super weird because the thing is like, so in Puerto Rico, it's really about the salsa and the bomba and the plena. In
very
Brazil, it's very samba and the chorinho and the forró. And I believe it's the cueca and it's beautiful because that means that we have like this super strong folk music totally alive. But then people like us that are a little bit exiled in, or at least we want to imagine a different sound, we are naturally a little bit out. But maybe our music is not for this time for them, but maybe in the future it will be. I could only hope that. I don't know. But it's okay, because we are doing something that we hear, and we think it's very, very important to have an alternative sound.
Yeah.
Another way of saying this, maybe the same that a lot of people want to say. And we have to keep true to that, because yes, we can play folk music as well. That's amazing. I love it. But I would like to also see these other forms. So yeah, let's see how they react when we are there.
And also just to like, so outside of the cultures we were just talking about, it's nice for me to be a representative in some way, in my weird way, of things that I find fascinating from the island. And I think it's fantastic that we're giving voice to the Andean cosmovisions and the culture in a very light way, without like, we're trying to be very, very respectful of the traditions there, because we're incredibly influenced by them and we love them. But yeah, we're not gonna become a cumbia band. Just we adore it, but that's not who we are. No, like
No.
we're something in between. We are mixed.
Yeah.
And we want that to be represented in the music as well. But at least echoes of Puerto Rico are in the music that get played in Kazakhstan sometimes, or that's fantastic. Someone in Japan is hearing this bomba-inspired track. That's really beautiful for me.
And also, I think, now you're saying this, it makes a full circle of, for instance, when we were talking about your music education, kind of breaking out of the mold, You could have just stayed and played standards, or you could play Rahman, and it would just be that, but it's kind of breaking through and like taking cumbia, but not being a cumbia band, just exploring what is beyond the... Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm sad to announce that we are running out of time. We have approximately we have some more time. All right. Okay. So we could, for instance, play one of the songs that you chose. We could talk some more. I have these little instruments. We could do like a little musical game if you...
Nice. What about Don Cherry?
You want to switch it around? We were talking about this Chilean music.
It's not going to be so much time to play all of them, I think, so you can choose.
Maybe we should choose Don Cherry then.
Yeah, I think so too. That's the second one.
Maybe we can show to the camera.
Yes.
This one, that one.
Organic music from... What year is that from?
Hard to say, but which one did you choose? The North?
The first one.
The first one, the North Brazilian ceremonial hymn. Nana Vasconcelos.
And for what reason? What attracted you to? What's your connection to this record, or the track?
I feel like, in some ways, what Don Cherry, I feel like he created this like culture around his approach to the music when he moved to Sweden, and created this. This fusing, I hate to use the word fusion, but like this fusing of earthy world instruments from around the world, but without like landing full force in like Drugi Indian music or something like that, but like fusing these ideas of jazz and other things to create something new, and the culture around it, and the passion and the love that I feel in all of the music that he does. Like there's something embedded in the sound of these records that is more than just the notes and the music and the sound. It's like, I don't know, there's a feeling behind it that I'm searching for in my own music.
And he's playing with Nana Vasconcelos. That is one of our heroines of Brazilian music.
Probably one of the top 3 human voices of all time.
Yes.
Mahalia Jackson, Ludmila Carpio, that's what I said.
Nana Vasconcelos.
Oh, well, let me
Do
just
they have
see. If it's the right one, it should be
It's side 1.
side one. Side
A1, yeah.
Yeah.
Should be A1.
No, this is Art Ensemble. I think it's the right one. Can you check if there's the title of the song is North Brazilian Ceremonial Hymn
It
A1?
is.
Yes,
Perfect.
perfect. So let's hear it.
Let's do it.
right, so we're back in the studio. So to kind of wrap up what we've been talking about, and also invite listeners to the concert tonight.
Oh yeah.
You're playing with a different band than the one that you recorded the album with.
Yeah.
James McClure, Linda Borowskari, and Uldis Vitols.
Yeah.
Is it your first time playing with them?
No, it's I guess this would be
The
second time playing with this exact version of the band, and it's like the Amsterdam based ensembles. Really, really talented Guardian musicians. It's fantastic that we have such a beautiful community of musicians that we can draw from. We're lucky to find these folks.
Yeah, but we play with all kinds of people, so we
Yeah.
actually don't have an ensemble.
Yeah.
Depends also the availability and all these kind of things. So we are actually creating more of a how do you say that, like
a community.
a community.
Like
And then depending where we are, then people join us, and also depends also a lot in, of course, financially what we can afford. Because in the beginning we always wanted to bring our first crew, which was Ben Boy, Madlax, and Ben Lamargay from Chicago and LA, but it's just it's not possible to bring them all, every time. But if it's possible, we play with them as well. So it's always open.
Yeah. Which is great for us also, because it changes the dynamics of the songs, and we are realizing how broad each of the songs or how narrow they actually have to be.
Yeah.
We're learning a lot about the music and ourselves, and it's a really fun process to have a different lineup.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I wanted to touch upon, in regards of recording the record and having all the people come and play, but more than just, having people working on the record, to have people who you think, you find something special in everybody, right? And then you invite them, you say, look, this is some material, you want to do your own interpretation of this, and that, I think, is the magic of the that you also captured on the at least for me, was one of the things that, like, because every voice, contributes something, and then it's crystallized in this moment of that particular person interacting with this world. Yeah. We had, like, also with these amazing people that they were available. Because then the moment they interacted, and we were like this in the studio, we were on the other side. It was really like, oh, it's so beautiful how they weave their thing in our thing. Yeah. All right. Well,
welcome tonight, everybody.
At 11, Club Gramka. You're gonna start on time, or there's gonna be some delay?
Depends if our instruments arrive, but we will start on time, no matter what.
I think we'll start on time if we have our instruments or not. We'll make do. I'll just clap.
I can bring my bag.
Bring the bag.
Bring the bag with
play that mini xylophone. Swinging.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Again, come. Vsi poslušalci vljudno vabljeni zvečer ob 11. uri v Klub Gromka, zasedba Mestizx na drugi godbi. Mestizx, pardon. Rushing. Ciao.
Vámonos. Ciao.
Ereš intervju.